Hi, my name is Jaylen, and today we will be talking about DNA mutation. Some of you may or may not know what DNA mutation is. Let's start with the basics. DNA is a molecule found in cells of all living things. DNA controls your traits and features. Basically, it makes you different from others. DNA mutation is when DNA is damaged and changes. DNA is made up of 4 different subunits, which are A, T, G, and C. When DNA mutates, these 4 different subunits change and replace with each other to make new combinations. These new combinations lead to new features and traits. My main inquiry question is how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans. I answer these with 5 different sub-questions, which are how DNA can mutate, ways DNA can mutate, causes of mutation, bigger and smaller mutations, DNA effect on humans' physical body, and DNA effect on human health. First factor of how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans are the causes of mutation. One of the causes is cancer. 66% of the time, the causes of cancer are very random. 29% of the time, the causes of cancer are by the environment. Finally, 5% of the time, the causes of cancer are inherited. Another cause for DNA mutation is tautomerism. Tautomerism is a hydrogen atom found that alters the hydrogen. One more cause is depurination. Depurination is forming an apurinic site by loss of purine. One last cause of DNA mutation is chemicals in food and radiation. One example for chemicals in food and radiation are high-energy particles that bump into our cells. Also, when a cell makes a new cell, it has to copy all its DNA, but sometimes it messes up and mutates. Another factor of how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans are the ways DNA can mutate. One way DNA can mutate is DNA can mutate very commonly and very rarely. According to researcher Mark Rockman, the most common way DNA can mutate are when the subunits A, T, G, and C replace and change with each other. One more factor of how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans are the bigger and smaller mutations. One of the bigger mutations is amplifications. Amplifications is a repetition of a chromosomal region. Another one of the bigger mutations is deletions. Deletions are large chromosomal regions. One of the smaller mutations is insertions. Insertions are large nucleotides added to the DNA. Another one of the smaller mutations is chromosomal inversions. Chromosomal inversions is the orientation of a chromosome that reverses. A chromosome is a long DNA molecule found in cells and that genetically connected to DNA. A chromosomal is something that is connected or involved with the DNA chromosome. One more factor of how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans is the DNA effect on humans' physical body. One of the examples is loss-of-function mutation. Loss-of-function mutation is also known as inactivating mutations. This is when an amorph or amorphic mutation, where the allele has complete loss of function. The result is less or no function. Another example is gain-on-function mutation. Gain-on-function mutation is also known as activating mutations. This is when the DNA changes and becomes stronger from the change. One last example is dominant negative mutation. Dominant negative mutation is also known as antimorphic mutation. One last example for how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans are the DNA effect on humans' health. There are positive ways for DNA effect on humans' health. One is DNA repair. DNA repair is to help your body from diseases. Another example is new versions of protein. Also, when some versions of protein have a slight chance of causing medical health problems. All in all, there are many ways how DNA can mutate and how it can impact humans. These reasons have shown researchers and scientists what they need to know to move on and learn more. Now, do you want to learn more about DNA mutation? If you do, visit my blog or scan the QR code.